Hello, good day. How are you today? Okay. Today in mathematics, we are going to be learning about the perimeter of a rectangle and square. In today's video, we are going to know how to use our formula to solve the perimeter of a rectangle and square. But first of all, we have to know the meaning of a perimeter, okay? We have to know the meaning of a perimeter. So what's a perimeter? A perimeter refers to the total length of the boundaries or the outer edge of a shape. It is a measure of the distance around the shape. Okay? It's like tracing the outline or boundary of a flat shape. It describes the distance around the outside of a shape. Do we understand that? Now, the formula for solving a perimeter also depends on a specific shape. You don't use one formula to solve for different shapes. Each shape have their own formula for solving for perimeter. Okay? Now, the perimeter of a triangle. The formula for the perimeter of a triangle is length plus width plus length plus width. It can also be written as 2 brackets open L plus W bracket close. Okay, that is the formula for a rectangle. Now, the formula for a square in solving the perimeter is length plus length plus length plus length, or it can be written as 4L. Do we understand that? Good. So these are the formula we're going to be using to solve for our triangle and our square. Remember, each shape has its own formula, and we have the triangle formula here and the square formula. Okay, here we have our triangle. Remember, we said to get our triangle we do what? Length plus length, length plus width plus length plus width, which is length plus width plus length plus width. Okay, and for us to get our square, the perimeter is what? Length plus length plus length plus length plus length. Okay, so now we're going to be moving over to some examples to enable us know how to use our formula to solve for getting our perimeters. Okay, example 1, we have here calculating the perimeter of a rectangle. We are first of all going to be focusing on the rectangle, how to calculate the perimeter of a rectangle. The question says a rectangle with the length of 8 meters and the width of 5 meters, calculate the perimeter. Remember, we said the perimeter is like tracing the outer or boundary of a flat shape, is to know the distance between them. Okay, so now our first step is to write out our formula, and the formula for our rectangle is L plus B plus L plus B, which is the breadth or width. Okay, or we write it 2 bracket L plus B bracket close. Now, when we have written our formula, we impute our numbers into this formula. Write it the way it is. Okay, so L we say is length, right? We have 8 as the length of a rectangle, and the breadth or the width is 5. We say plus 5 again, plus the length 8 plus the breadth or width 5. It can also be written in this other way, which is equals to 2 bracket open, the length is 8 plus the breadth, which is 5 bracket close. Now the next step is to add our numbers together. Okay, we have 8 plus 5 plus 8 plus 5. When we add our numbers together, our answer is going to be what? 26. Or we can do this other pattern where we have our brackets here, we multiply to open the bracket, right? Good. These brackets represent multiplication, right? Okay, So we have 8 plus 5 here. When we plus it, it gives us 13. So we say 2 times 13. And what does it give us? 26. So either you use this form way, either you use this way or you use this way, you will still arrive at the same answer. Okay? We understand that, right? Now let's go over to another example. Our next example, a rectangle with a length of 12 inches and the width of 6 inches. Calculate the perimeter. We are to calculate the perimeter of a rectangle that the length is 12 inches and the width is 6. So what do we do first? We write out our formula for solving, okay? We have L plus W plus L plus W, which is width. And when we do that, we implement our numbers into this formula. Remember, I said you can either use this way or this way, whichever is easier for you. Okay, so we implement our number. The length is 12 and the width is 6. We implement 12 plus 6 plus 12 plus 6. It will give us what? 36 when we add. Or we do it this way, 2 brackets L plus breadth or the width. We have 2 brackets, we implement the numbers 12 plus 6 bracket close, then we multiply. When we get our answer, 12 plus 6 is 18. We have 2 bracket 18. Then what do? We multiply it. 2 times 18, what is it going to give us? 36. You are seeing that we arrived at the same answer, right? So you use either this way or this way, you will still arrive at the same answer. Okay, here we also have, let's say you have a triangle room with a length of 10 feet and a width of 7 feet. Calculate its perimeter. It's still the same thing as we did in our previous video. You first of all write out, our previous slide. You first of all write out the formula, then implement your numbers or impute your numbers. Okay? You write out the formula and impute your numbers. You either use this pattern or you use this pattern, you will arrive at the same answer. Just like we have 34 here. When you calculate everything, your answer here is 34. And when you calculate everything here, your answer here is 34. You arrive at the same answer whichever method you use. Okay? Now let's move over to knowing how to solve the perimeter of a square. The perimeter of a square, we are to calculate its perimeter. Number one, we have a square with a side length of 6 centimeters. We are to calculate the perimeter. Okay? So what do we do first? We write out the formula for calculating the perimeter of a square. Remember, there are two different formulas. The rectangle has its own formula and the square has its own formula. Do we understand that? Good. So we have to write out our formula first, and when we have written our formula, it's L plus L plus L plus L plus L, which is the length plus the length plus the length plus the length plus the length. Or we can write it as 4L. Okay? Then what do we do next? We impute our numbers into the formula. We have 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6. The length is what? 6. Or we can write it as 4 times 6. The L is 6, which is the length. So we can write it as 4 times 6. When we add the 4 6 together, it gives us 24, right? And when we multiply 4 times 6, it will give us 24. So it's either you use this way or you use this way. Whichever way you use, you arrive at the same answer. Do we understand that? Correct. Let's move over to another example. If you have a square with the side length of 9 inches, calculate the perimeter. We have to calculate the perimeter of a square that is 9 inches. So what do we do first? We write out our formula. We have L plus L plus L plus L plus L, or 4L. Remember, every shape has its own formula for solving. We cannot use this formula of a rectangle to solve the square. We will not get our answer. So we use the formula of a square to solve the square. So we have 9 plus 9 plus 9 plus 9. The 9 is the length, right? We are looking for the perimeter. So we have 9 plus 9 plus 9. And when we add, we have 36. If you use this formula, it's still the same thing. 4L, when you input your number in, is 4 times 9, and when we multiply 4 times 9, it will give you what? 36. So either you use this pattern or you use this pattern, you will still arrive at the same answer. I hope you understand. Good. Here we have another example. You have a square garden. Number 3. You have a square garden with a side length of 5 meters. Calculate the perimeter. So what are we going to do first? Good, we write out our formula first, right? When we write out our formula first, what do we do next? Good, we implement the formula. We do what? Implement the formula with the given number we have. Here we have 5 as the length, right? So we say 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 equal to, you use this formula, you use this other pattern if you want to. 5 times 4 times 5, this 4 here, and the L that represents the length, which is 5. Okay, when we plus our 4 5s, we have 20 as our answer, right? If you add 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, it will give us 20, right? Good. And when we multiply 4 times 5, what is going to be our answer? We're going to have 20. Good. I hope you understand and we're following along. We have different formulas for solving each shapes, their perimeters. Okay, and now we are solving for square. I hope we are not confused. Okay, good. Now we have here another question. If you have a square with the side length of 7 centimeters, calculate the perimeter. We have to calculate the perimeter of a square that has 7 centimeters. And how do we go about it? What do we do first? What is our first step? Yes, we write out our formula first. We do what? Write out our formula first. L plus L plus L plus L plus L equals to 4L. Then what do we do next? We input our numbers into our formula. Okay? The length here is 7, so it's 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7, or 4 times 7. When we add 7 plus 7 plus 7, it's going to give us what? 28. And when we multiply 4 times 7, it will give us what? 28. So you either use this pattern or you use this pattern. Whichever pattern you like more, you arrive at the same answer. Okay? Very good. So we said there are different formulas we use in solving different shapes. And we said the perimeter of an angle, the formula is L plus W plus L plus W, or 2 brackets open, L plus W bracket close, right? So this is the formula for rectangle, and the formula for square in solving perimeter is L plus L plus L plus L plus L, or 4L. We should not confuse it, because when we confuse it, we are going to get the wrong answer. Okay, so we are to practice more on how to solve the perimeter of a rectangle and the perimeter of a square, to be able to get more ideas. Here we are to practice from number 1 to 4 using our previous examples we have done. You can cross-check with the previous examples to know how to solve these questions. Okay, from number 1 to 4, I'm sure we did them in our examples. We did something similar to that. So you have to look through it and practice this exercise. Okay, I hope you understood today's lesson. each shape has their different formulas for solving perimeters. Okay,